what was your favorite building image?
I like the Marshall.
No.
Oh yeah, the Hotel John Marshall.
That Hotel John Marshall. It's real classy.
Well,
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing that in '09 that building was big.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I don't know that. I don't know
and you said Mike was where?
all the buildings' names. Are you familiar with Richmond?
We lived there for 3 years.
Oh wow. I mean, I love neighborhoods. I mean, we were in Carytown.
Heather, where did you say Mike was?
We went to this one place,
Okay.
shindigs, just
Is Mike not coming?
dessert.
No, he's
And it was like all nothing but dessert. This is so cool.
Yeah, yeah. And the campus.
What street?
You ready?
Carrie?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Worked there. That's how we.
So I'll call this meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we go to roll call, I would like to introduce our new clerk, Ms. Keena Thomas. So she's sitting down there on the end. And roll call, please.
Dr. Bellamy,
Here.
Ms. Hill. Here. Ms. Walker,
Present.
Mr. Signer,
He's inbound, but
Ms. Galvin.
Here.
Are there any announcements?
I'll make a brief one. That the Theater CHS presents Mamma Mia on February 15th, 16th, and 17th for the Friday and Saturday dates at 7:30 p.m. and on the Sunday date at 3 o'clock p.m. All performances will take place at the MLK Performing Arts Center.
All right, thank you.
And we, no, Mayor Walker and I have
We'll
one.
have those in just. it's
Oh,
the
later?
next.
Okay.
And I have, hold on just a sec. All right, Wes, you can. Dr.
Sure.
Yeah.
My bad. So, good evening, everyone. And we would like to, as a council, officially kick off African American History Month. So we have official City of Charlottesville proclamation for it. And as been our regular tradition, we will be acknowledging a couple of folks for it, but we'll read the proclamation first. Whereas February has been set aside nationally as a time to remember and learn facts about the contributions of African Americans to our country, and whereas during February in particular, we remember the stories of those who have helped build our nation and our city and advance the cause of freedom and civil rights, and we remember those who helped build our families, places of worship, and communities. And whereas, when we examine our nation's history, we discover countless stories that inspire us, stories of the triumph of the human spirit, tragic stories of cruelty, rooted in ignorance and bigotry, yet stories of everyday people rising above their circumstances and the prejudice of others to attain great accomplishments. And whereas, as we celebrate African American History Month, we teach our children and all Americans to rise above brutality and bigotry and to be champions of human dignity and equality. And whereas, we rededicate ourselves to affirming the promise of the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Charlottesville, Virginia, do hereby celebrate February 2019 as African American History Month. in recognition of the struggles and contributions of African Americans, and to make all citizens aware of the significance of the achievements of African Americans in our community and throughout this country. And we hereby urge all citizens to mark this month by supporting and encouraging the efforts of all interested groups and organizations. This is signed and sealed on this 4th day of February 2019 by our first African American female mayor, Ms. Nakaya Walker. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Ms. Walker has a couple of remarks.
I just am going to make some announcements on behalf of the NAACP.
Okay.
Yeah. Just their February schedule of events. Ms. Boyd wanted you all just to be aware there's a branch meeting on February 11th at 7 p.m. and Professor John Mason from UVA will be there. The topic will be local African American history, including the relationship between the community and UVA. On February 17th is the NAACP Founders Day celebration. That will be at 4 p.m. at Zion Union Baptist Church, 1015 Preston Avenue. And on Saturday, February 23rd, is the Jazz Jamboree at the Center, 491 Hillsdale Drive.
All right.
Thank you.
So we had this proclamation to present to the young men and women of both Dream Diamonds and Dream Clothing. They have been doing an outstanding job in the community in regards to their work, not only with their annual Back to School Bash at Townsville Park, in which they actually started on August 12, 2017, in which they originally gave away 250 some odd book bags and school supplies to those who were in need. And then they followed that up with their annual toy drive, in which they've been doing now for 3 years. And this past December, they provided nearly 200 toys, bikes, clothes, and shoes and other articles of clothing, as well as donations to the community. They did that in December of 2017. So this proclamation is for them. I see that they're calling me now, which means someone must be on their way, but the show must go on. So if we can, let's give both Dream Diamonds and Dream Clothing a round of applause, please. And we will provide them with their proclamation when they get here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next, if we can have the consent agenda read, Ms. Thomas.
Consent agenda. A, minutes of the January 22nd, 2019 regular meeting, January 23rd, January 30th, and January 31st, 2019 work sessions. B, appropriation, grant for bicycle and pedestrian improvements at Monticello Avenue, Ridge Street, and Monticello 2nd Street, $47,730. Second of two readings. C, appropriation, housing opportunities for people with AIDS, HIV, $213,012, second of two readings. D, appropriation, employment for temporary aid to needy families, TANF grant, $66,623.53, second of two readings. E, appropriation, Home to Hope Peer Navigators funding, $405,000, second of two readings. F, resolution, funding for summer clerk for Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, $12,000, first of one reading. G, resolution, designate Friendship Court site as a revitalization area, first of one reading. H, resolution, designate Crescent Hall site as a revitalization area, first of one reading. I, resolution, designate South First Street site as a revitalization area, first of one reading. J, ordinance, approve amendments to CACVB operating agreement, second of two readings. K, ordinance, increase in limit for small purchase procurement, first of two readings.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion?
Did you have any comments to the consent speakers?
Oh, sorry about that. Are there any speakers who would like to would like to speak on any item on the consent agenda? Come on.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank Thank you. My name is Anna Mendez. I am a resident of Albemarle County, and I'm the Executive Director of Partner for Mental Health here in the city of Charlottesville. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Ms. Thomas, congratulations on your new appointment. I am speaking to request that City Council consider locating the much-needed Home to Hope program with a community agency that is already providing reentry navigation here in Charlottesville. Additionally, I want to make sure that council members are aware that peer support is a Medicaid billable service. In Partner for Mental Health's experience, working with people returning from jail and prison, almost all are eligible for Medicaid. It would not be difficult to structure Home to Hope in such a way that Medicaid would cover the cost of service provision rather than having to rely on city funds. Thank you for your commitment to our neighbors returning from jail and prison. Structural barriers make success for people with prior convictions difficult. Partner for Mental Health is grateful that you are making such an investment. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay.
Mr. Harris?
Good evening. My name is Eddie Harris.
Good evening.
I'm a resident of the city, and I wanted to speak about the Home to Hope program, the Home to Hope initiative, and I wanted to speak in support of keeping the initiative in the city. And the reason why I'm saying that is I think the initiative should have the opportunity to fail or succeed on its own merits, not connected to anything else, not to connected with anything that's already going on. I think we already got failure, so I'm trying to figure out what we're scared of, because we can't be scared of failing, because we already got that. And if we keep doing things the way that we've always done them, we're going to keep on getting the failure that we already got. Mm-hmm. So somebody got to be courageous enough and spirited enough to take a chance. No risk, no reward. Just think about that.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
I'm Roy Van Doren with City Select. My office is on East High Street. I'm also a board member of the Downtown Business Association, as well as the Virginia Lodging and Travel Association here in Charlottesville. I know you're considering a budget coming up, and it's complex. It's hard to
Did you
pick.
have an item that was on the consent agenda?
No, I
The
didn't.
items that you read? So either if you're signed up for the regular community matters section, or you can sign up at the end of the meeting for other matters. All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on items that are on the consent agenda? All right, thank you. Any comments from council?
Mayor Walker, I just have one or two quick comments. One specifically in regards to Mr. Harris. I think his point is well taken. I just want to be sure that I echo my support for the Home to Help remaining a part of the city. And I think with his experience, as well as his hand-to-hand and direct knowledge and information and contact that he often has with these individuals returning home, that we need to take full advantage of his knowledge, his expertise, as well as what he's stating. And then secondly, just very briefly, two other items H and I, just for the public, G, H, and I, designating Friendship Court site as a revitalization area, designating Crescent Hall site as a revitalization area, as well as item I, designating South First Street site as a revitalization area. I think it's important for the community to know that these are three items that are tangibly moving towards not only affordable housing, but helping individuals with low-income housing. So these are the things that aren't always on the, they don't make the headlines, and sometimes they fly under the radar, but very important steps, specifically for items I and J. When you look at Crescent Halls as well as South First Street, it's definitely something that is moving us in the right direction. And I want to give a shout out and kudos to FAR as well as the Housing Authority and the Redevelopment Committee. Thanks for your hard work. Thank you.
And I have just one comment about the revitalization areas, all three. I just make sure that we are careful under one of on each item. It says a desirable economic mix of residents in such area. And we just want to make sure that when we're doing these, even though that's probably a HUD-approved phrasing, that we are making sure that we're creating environments that people who are currently there are comfortable and at home in their spaces, and that we don't assume that neighborhoods haven't been successful because there haven't been wealthy people in them, especially in the small area that our city occupies. All of those areas are already in mixed income areas. And so that was something when I was reading it that caught my attention, and that's something that throughout the process for all of the developments, we're going to have to be very, very careful of not only the immediate displacement, but that 10, 15, 20 years from now, families are not slowly displaced to where they're no longer present. We see that in neighborhoods and all over the city and the country as a whole. We have followed suit, so we want to make sure that we don't continue those practices. So you have to be very careful with terminology. And then my next comment is the CACVB. I support it. I do have questions about the diversity of the board, and then I also just want to make sure that the dollars that the city is investing, that we are focused on all citizens and not just the rebranding pre-2017 summer Charlottesville.
Well said. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I just have one more that I just got a text about, and I was supposed to acknowledge Miss Jennifer Stiefenheimer is here. Item K, increase in limit for small purchase procurement. This is something that came up from the Minority Business Task Force, the advisory task force that came through them, as well as our procurement office. They've been doing an outstanding job. Thank you to Miss Jennifer for allowing us to move forth. And you all, for those who see the agenda, an increase in limit for the small purchase procurement will in fact have a positive impact on minority businesses in the community and allow us as the city to be able to do more work with those who are minority businesses. So it will have a direct impact within our community. Thanks for your hard work, as well as the Minority Business Advisory Task Force. So kudos to y'all. Thank you. I promise that's it, Mayor Walker.
Okay. Are there any other comments?
No, I mean, I just shared with my colleagues earlier today relative to the Home to Hope peer navigation. I just want to make sure that we are at least, leveraging the partnerships that we have throughout our community for this to be as successful as possible, regardless of where those resources lie under the city or otherwise. And I articulated those things to my colleagues, so I just wanted to mention that.
All right.
Thank you.
Mayor Walker, I move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, any further questions or comments? All right, please vote. All right, that carries 5-0. Next, we'll have our interim city manager's response to community matters.
Mayor Walker, just one matter this evening. That is, you'll recall from our last meeting a response to some items that Ms. Carey brought up, and we did follow up over the phone. And one thing that had come up in a previous meeting is the rerouting of the trolley. And we do have a pilot scheduled to take the trolley straight down Main, onto South, turn left on 2nd, and then go straight across the mall. And we will have to do some posting because two things will need to happen. One is we'll be reversing the flow of traffic on 2nd Street. And two is we'll have to eliminate parking for a period of time. Eventually, we would need to move parking from one side of the street to the other if this was something that the council had interest in, and there would be the elimination of a couple parking spaces that are on 2nd Street currently. So it is certainly possible for us to reverse the flow of traffic on First and Second Street, the two parcels that abut the city-owned parking lot with the stemmed meters. That's more possible now since there's not a project planned for that parcel. And we can advise council of the results. It's really the only matter for tonight.
All right. Thank you.
be
Was there any
interesting.
questions?
You interested in exploring that?
Yeah.
If-
Yeah,
Ms.
Mr.
Gallagher.
Murphy, so how long is the pilot term?
The pilot, it was really for us just to demonstrate,
Oh.
turning radius and that you
Oh, I
can,
see.
that you can actually execute what we're talking about. A trolley is longer than a car, and we need to figure out that you can do that. It is a one-way street currently, although I believe when I talked to Ms. Carey, she remembers a time where that went both ways. So I don't know that I've ever observed that, but I would say there is parking down the whole one side currently, so it's possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. Okay. So, Counselor Bellamy is going to
Present
issue
the
the proclamation.
Yeah, so it looks like that text message went through really fast because the recipient of the African American History Month proclamation is here. If we can we give Mr. Robert Gray a round of applause from Dream Diamonds? Thank you, sir, for your outstanding work to the community. Would you care to say a few words?
Put me on the spot.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm honored to accept this award on behalf of the fellow organizers. I'm gonna just try to call out their names. Jamar, what's Jamar's last name?
Pierre Lewis.
Jamar Pierre Lewis. I know y'all pretty familiar with Courtney Commander. She helped organize. Jill Brown, Terrence Smith, Wes Bellamy, and a host of other names. But I just want to say that, it's an honor and a privilege to serve my community. It may not seem like, people are stepping up and serving the community, but we have a lot of people who, might not, underground that you guys might not see, that are actually out here doing the work. And I'm one of those people. So, yeah, I work with the City of Promise. I'm a pathway coach. So, I help marginalized and underserved, under-resourced community, and that's something I specialize in doing. Grassroots organizer for a number of different organizations, and I'm here in Charlottesville. I just came back to, do my thing and help out my people, because, sometimes we think that our people, I say my people don't matter, and we do. Everyone deserves an equal level playing field, right?
That's right.
And you guys will be seeing more of me.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Gray.
I just want to. I think it's very important to just see the face of some of the community members that don't always come to council chambers. But a story that I want to tell pretty quickly was on August 12th of 2017, in the midst of all the chaos that had erupted in our city. These young men got together and decided that even though there was complete chaos in Charlottesville, that the back to school bash would go on. And they had individuals walking around Tonsler Park to make sure that people did not enter that could cause harm to the park. But more importantly, once you were in the park, they made sure that it was a safe space for the youth to come to and enjoy the day, even though the adults were dealing with the impact that had happened earlier, that morning into the afternoon. So when I received the call, we're going to continue, I'm like, it's a complete mess right now in the city. Are you, serious?
You did say
Okay, I'm there. I'm still gonna come. I'm still gonna be there. Wes was still there. I mean, I didn't see it, the vision, but they kept the vision and kept it strong, and it was a great event. So thank you all. And I just wanted to make sure the community was aware of something positive that happened on that day. That was for most of the city, complete disaster.
Kudos.
Thank the both of
Thank you,
y'all.
sir.
All right, now we're going to start our Community Matters section. First up, we have Donna Shaughnessy.
Madam Mayor, members of council, Mr. Murphy, my name is Donna Shaughnessy. I live at 1003 Birdwood Road. Today I'm speaking as the chair of the local, the Piedmont group of the Sierra Club, which includes 1,500 members in our area. I want to commend you for pursuing local efforts to mitigate climate change with your membership in the Compact of Mayors. The decisions you make over the next 5 months regarding the greenhouse gas reduction target will have a profound effect on the city and our world. As I'm sure you know, the negative effects of climate change will be felt most heavily by the people who have the fewest resources to cope. The federal government issued a report to that effect the day after Thanksgiving. In the fourth National Climate Assessment, 300 experts from government and the private sector noted that, quote, people who are already vulnerable, including lower income and other marginalized communities, have lower capacity to prepare for and to cope with extreme weather and climate-related events, and they're expected to experience greater impacts, end quote. Hotter summers will mean higher air conditioning bills, or in the worst cases, health effects for those who can't afford air conditioning. And as we've seen from the polar vortex this past week, climate change can also mean colder weather, and once again, it's low-income folks who will feel the economic and health impacts the most. In the book, Virginia Climate Fever, Stephen Nash cites climate data showing that for the past 30 years in Charlottesville had an average of 31 days over 90 degrees, so about a month of weather over 90 degrees. By 2065, there'll be 89 days over 90 degrees, so basically 3 full months of super hot weather. That's nearly 3 times the current level. And how will our residents cope with those kinds of temperatures? There are many ways we can tackle these issues, including providing increased funding for weatherization and energy efficiency, such as the ones administered by LEAP. In addition, when we build affordable housing, as I know we will do, we need to ensure that the homes are energy efficient as possible. Solar panels and shade trees should be top priorities. Supporting jobs programs in solar technology can expand the reach of solar energy while providing training in this high-growth industry. Thank you for your efforts to lower greenhouse gas emissions, as well as protecting the most vulnerable of our citizens in the face of this threat. And the Green Grannies are going to be, have written a song supporting this position, and they'll share that with you a little bit later. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Charles Kendick.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Charles Kendig. I'm a Charlottesville resident. I wanted to speak with you tonight to ask your help. I don't want any money. I want your attention, and I'd like your time. I'd like to speak to you tonight about Milton Hershey School. Milton Hershey School started in 1909 and was founded by Milton and Catherine Hershey. The school at one time was for white male orphans between 4 and 14. Today the school is for white, brown, black, boys, girls of various religions, and it's based on need. Based on need. It's not a school that's a prep school. It's a school designed for families that are in need. They look at things like income. The average income for students that attend this school is $23,000. This school is at no cost to its students. No cost. I went to that school in 1953 to 1962. My dad was a policeman. I didn't know, after my mother died, I didn't know whether I was going to eat the next meal. I didn't know where we were going to live. I have a sense of what it must be like to be poor and to be needy. I had the opportunity to go to that school at no cost. I met young men at the time. Now we have boys, girls, we have all kinds of educational opportunities for these kids. There are 2,300 kids there today. 2,300 lives being helped at no cost to their family. Half of them are boys and half are girls. When I went there were no girls. The efforts made, college educations are available, vocational education is available at no cost. And why I wanted to bring this, it's an opportunity for me, frankly, to bring something back to my alma mater. I was taught how to help other people. I was taught how to appreciate it. I was given opportunities. And you know, you can't dream without an opportunity. You can't. These kids today, they're going off to do things in the world to make the world better. And I wanted to just share that story with you about Milton Hershey School. I look at what can we do in Central Virginia, what can we do in Charlottesville to make leaders like yourselves aware of this wonderful place that's available for our kids, that we can do something to help them get an opportunity they might not get otherwise. So thank you for listening. What I really wanted to do tonight, I wanted to get the order from you, that you'll help me. You'll help me in the Charlottesville area schools. You'll help me in Albemarle County. You'll help me anywhere I need to go to get this message across to people in our community to make them aware of it. Thank you for listening to my message.
Thank you. Kate Fraley.
Hi, my name's Kate Fraley. I'm a city resident, and tonight I'm speaking for the People's Coalition about criminal justice. The problem of disproportionate minority contact in every area of the justice system, from the first contact to prison, is known and has been known for years. Disproportionate minority contact is a prominent, consistent, horrible feature of our criminal justice system. This is not a problem for Charlottesville alone. It is a problem across the United States. The problem of disproportionate minority contact by Charlottesville police officers in all age demographics is not just a problem for Chief Brackney. It was proven by data as a problem for Chief Longo, Chief Thomas, and now Chief Brackney, as evidenced most recently by the December stop and frisk statistics. Therefore, we urge all of our public officials to recognize that community efforts to reform our justice system in Charlottesville are not personal character attacks, but instead efforts to correct a racist and unjust system that is both historical and deeply entrenched, and we welcome your support and collaboration. There seemed to be some positive movement towards more recognition of the problem and active community involvement in the solutions. The City Council's effort to create a new oversight entity, the Civilian Review Board, and Chief Brackney's frequent attendance at City Council meetings are positive signs. The U.S. Department of Justice, the Association of Inspectors General, the President's Task Force of 21st Century Policing, the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, the Sentencing Project, A Vision for Black Lives Policy Demands for Black Power, Freedom, and Justice, Campaign Zero, and the American Civil Liberties Union all recommend that cities develop and support strong civilian oversight of police departments as a way to address disproportionate minority contact by police. Let's make the Civilian Review Board a strong and powerful avenue for transparency, accountability, and change. Charlottesville can lead the way forward towards a fair future for all, or be stuck repeating a systematically unjust past. We cannot let these problems continue any longer. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Payne.
Hello, Michael Payne, city resident. Last week's budget workshop, I think, highlighted that over the next 5 years, the city has significant challenges when it comes to funding both the capital improvement projects budget and the operating budget because of how many significant infrastructure projects have been delayed. And I just want to reiterate the point that full funding for redevelopment of public housing, redevelopment of Friendship Court, and full funding for implementation of a comprehensive affordable housing strategy is a line in the sand. It's not negotiable. It has to happen. And that has to be the first priority. Then we can look at funding for other major infrastructure projects. And if it turns out that those other infrastructure projects are critical and important, then we're going to have to look at raising taxes. And I would urge council not to be afraid to raise taxes by 1 or 2 cents if it means fully funding all of these vital programs going forward. And again, that funding for affordable housing cannot be negotiable. It has to happen. Separately, I also just want to echo points about climate change and would again highlight that committing only to the Paris climate agreements is a form of climate change denial, according to the UN science. You have to go beyond that. Your emissions reduction target has to be 100% renewable energy by 2030. You need to divest from fossil fuels, and you need to focus on an environmental movement that's intersectional and incorporating class and race. And again, 100% renewable energy by 2030 is what science from the UN says we need to get to. The Paris Climate Accords are no longer where the science says we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Katrina Turner.
You pass it down. Mr. Blair, one for you, Mr. Blair. Hey, Mr. We take.
Huh? Yeah, it's,
Oh.
yeah.
These, right?
Katrina Turner. I'm here tonight for one, because on Friday night, my son was stopped by the police. They said he failed to stop at the stop sign. So he's at Prospect and Bailey, and the police is sitting on Prospect also. My son took the left and went all the way down Prospect, turned down on Rock Creek Road, and was getting ready to park in front of our house before the police put the light on him and told him that he ran the stop sign. He also said that his brake light was out. His brake light was clearly not out while the police were sitting there doing the investigation. But he wrote him a warning ticket for defective equipment and failure to stop at that stop sign. But the reason the police was there is because he claims that people have been complaining about people running the stop sign. So if my son did run that stop sign and that's why he was there, why did he only get this warning? Only because when I came out there and let them know I was with the CRB, and that this officer stopped my son, went back to the car, sat in the car, called for backup, and did not get out that car until 2 other police officers came. And I complained about that this is what we have been complaining about in our neighborhood. He ran a stop sign and you're gonna call for help like that and have all these other officers come there? That's one of the things I'm here for. The other thing I'm here for is because I still have not gotten that letter from the chief of police where she lied. She didn't make a mistake. Where she lied and said that she viewed a videotape of my son's arrest. Not just that, I have been asking, where is the evidence that she accused me of lying on an officer? I have been asking about that. I still haven't gotten that answer yet. Okay. The next thing, I filed a complaint on Chief Brackney because the night that child was out there having a seizure, and I was out there trying to help her, when the gentleman came in here and asked somebody for help, I did not go out there for a little while after. When I finally did leave, the child was still laying down on that ground, not breathing. When I kept saying I could help, I know CPR, I am medically trained, the officers that were standing there let me through to go help that child. Chief Brackney came from out of nowhere and literally attacked me that night in front of the officers and in front of plenty of people. I filed this complaint a month ago. The only thing I've gotten is a thank you for filing a complaint. Not one person has called me yet to get my sworn statement, my recorded statement on this. And I'd like to know why. I'd like to know why nobody has contacted me about this complaint I filed against the chief of police.
Thank you. Mary Carey.
So, Ms.
Oh, did you have a?
Yeah, Mr. Murphy, is it possible to follow up with Ms. Turner and Chief Brackney, please?
Can I just say one other thing?
That's up to.
I've been doing this for over 2 years. I've been calling out this police department for over 2 years. Do you all really think I want to come and keep saying the police changed records in my son's case and nobody is listening to me? Why hasn't anybody from the police department come after me and tell me I am lying about those records in my son's case being changed? But this is not just my son's case now, because it's mine, because they also called me a liar. I want to know what I testified to that they said I did not tell the truth, because I'm taking a lie detector test. But until they tell me exactly what I lied about, exactly what I testified about, I can't do it. I need those questions so they could be added to the lie detector test. I need those questions.
Thank you. Ms. Carey. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Mary Curry, city resident. I'll put emphasis on city resident, because a lot of things going on in the city is handled by people that's not city residents, if you get my drift. But anyway, I did talk to Mr. Murphy, and I like the conversation came out pretty good. But you also said, Ms. Murphy, that somebody from transportation will be calling me. I know the traffic in this town is slow, but I haven't heard from anybody. So the way that we talked about how that trolley would get around that curb, yes, when I was growing up, where that parking lot is were houses down there. And right there where they're building up this restaurant or whatever they're doing down there on, I don't know what they be doing, the shops here. Down on Water Street, used to be houses down there too. But it shouldn't be hard, like I said, to get that trolley around that corner where there's a parking lot over here and there's 2 or 3 parking spaces. Sure, the trolley will swing a little bit, but it'll get around that curve. Okay. Still waiting on the transportation people to call me. I'm retired, so I don't have too much to do. And I can, wait my time. And I'm talking about Mr. Robert Gray and Mr. Ed Harris. We and myself and a few other people, we are the underground activists in this town. And we know what's going on in this town, city council. And we come down here and we tell y'all what's happening. Y'all don't believe us half the time. Because y'all sit there, and I see y'all paying attention tonight. I'm just so, because usually you're down in them computers and jotting stuff and reading books and doing it here and here. And you're not paying attention to the people that's standing in front of you, letting you know exactly what's going on in this city. So as soon as we get some fresh people up here on the city council, which I know there will be 3 new ones soon, maybe we can get this city back on track and get some people that live in Charlottesville to respond to things that's going on in Charlottesville and try to get this community back together again. That's what we need. Because I'm sick and tired of the way my city is going. I've been here 72 years. I ain't never seen it like this in the last 4 years. There's got to be a change coming. Thank you, Sam Cook. Good night.
Thank you. Tanisha Hudson.
Hello, I have a couple of things to touch on. I'm gonna follow up with Katrina on the police complaint. Mysteriously, I got a certified letter about a complaint that I filed in March. I never even received a letter about the complaints from August 12, 2017 on the police officers that I filed a complaint on. We don't even know what happened with those. Maybe you could follow up on that, Mr. Murphy. I know it's not, you won't hear then. I'm not blaming you. I'm not holding you accountable for the year 2017, but I'm asking you to look into the complaints that people filed from 2017 prior to Maurice Jones leaving. Another thing is I was coming down here tonight and coming downtown, we always talk about diversity and inclusiveness and wanting black people to be accepted and feel like they can go into these spaces into this town. Well, we all know, this was a discussion here in City Council a while ago, that there used to be benches on the downtown mall for people to sit at. And I can count the number of seats that people can sit at. So if you want to be a world-class city, world-class means that you're for all classes, and that all classes can be in a space, whether they're spending money or not, that there should be benches, seats, somewhere for people to sit. Now, I know that some of y'all probably won't hear for this, but I took a picture of this tonight. Some of the benches used to wrap around the trees. You remember that, Nakai? You born and raised from here. The benches used to wrap around the trees for people to sit on the downtown mall. They're covered up and taken up by these restaurants. Now, see, it's so easy for y'all to sit up here and act like y'all don't support people like Jason Kessler who act racist and stuff. But when you believe in capitalism, you supporting it whether you want to or not. Because this is saying that if you don't spend money, you can't be here. And y'all always talk about mixed-use income apartments. We need certain people to live in these apartments. We don't just focus on the people that really need a place to live. We want $1 million condos in the middle of downtown. But you don't even make poor people feel welcome downtown. And I'm glad somebody here from the Downtown Business Association, because I hope you take this to your next board meeting. Because we should be so tired at this point of portraying to be a city that we're just not. We're just not. And especially after the events that occurred this weekend with our governor, some of y'all are really hypocrites. I'm going to go ahead and take time to address this now while it's people in this room. Some of y'all are really hypocrites because when Mr. Bellamy had his issue, some of y'all wanted him to resign. Some of y'all claim y'all didn't want him to resign, but then y'all acting like y'all want Northam to resign. Listen, I can deal with a person that don't like me personally telling me, listen, I'm a white nationalist, I don't like black people, but I can't deal with you all that are overt and try to hide it. And you put it in policy. And I can't deal with white progressives that use black people as pawns to push your personal agenda. We can't do that anymore.
Thanks. Joni Freeman. Great.
So we're the Green Grannies of Charlottesville, and we're here again. And we'll be back again and again to entertain you, inspire you, and incite you to be as proactive as possible. We're members of the Seville 100 reduction of fossil fuels in our community. And we're here to support Donna's talk that she did, because the coalition has and will continue to have people coming and giving their understanding from many different points of how climate change is impacting our community. So I will move away from the microphone since I can't keep a tune. And here we go, the Green Grannies of Charlottesville. What will we do? Where will we go when the ozone's gone? Don't you know that fossil fuel has got to go? And our conservation's too slow. How can we wake the community up before it is too late? All of us voters, ordinary people, will decide our fate. What will we do? Where will we go when the power's off? Don't you know the vulnerable are most at risk? Help us this by making a list. Give us a deal to level the field. Treat us all as one. All of us voters, ordinary people, help save Seville now. Help save Seville now.
Thank you. David Redding.
You just said the next name.
What? Did somebody have comments? Did you have
Thank you, Green Grannies. It was wonderful. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm Dave Redding, and I'm with Eco Village Charlottesville, and I'm also here to talk about climate change and the effect that it will have on low-income people. One of the things that I've noticed, you have joined the mayor's conference and all that. I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. And 2030 is really a good time to be 100%. I know it's tough. I applaud you for the things that you're doing in your comprehensive plan. We have to take some of the people that are coming before you for SUPs, special use permits and all, and we have to build more apartments in town and that type of thing, so that we're actually helping to keep the price of housing low. As an example, the Hogwaller project, which I think will come before you sometime this month, it's an excellent example of how the developer wants to put 30 units on a piece of property that he can, by right, put 4 houses on. And he came in for a SUP to be able to put a 30-unit apartment in there. He's going to use part of down by the river to have a garden there, and then have a little garden store with his 30 apartment units, and have one of his, probably one of his apartment renters to run the store. And all this is, it would provide housing for, now he will have 4 low-income units, but the thing of it is we have to get to the point where we're accepting more apartments, and that will keep the price of housing low for people. Living out at the Eco Village where I do, 480 Ryle Road East, sometimes we have traffic jams going both ways in the morning. And it seems that's a large waste of carbon, and we need to figure out how to get the people that live in town or want to live in town to be able to live in town. As it is right now, a lot of people who would like to live in town these people talking about it tonight, they can't afford to live in town. So please take in mind that we have to use the comprehensive plan to make as many living spaces as we can. It would help reduce carbon. And and community bikes, you will be able to put more people on bicycles. Last summer we were giving out 40 bicycles per month, or per week rather. We're not doing that right now. The polar vortex has made it so nobody comes in. So anyway, thank you all.
Thank you. John Hall.
Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
My name is John Hall from the Fry Springs neighborhood. My new creations for the city so that we can bear good fruit, pleasing fruitage as one people, Charlottesville. My issues and suggestions for city council to consider. One, continue the CAT bus, the Charlottesville Area Transit Bus 5, along Berkmar Drive, past Walmart. The road's already there, all the way to Forest Lakes Shopping Center. Kohl's Target is there. A lot of people want to go there. The road's already there. All it would take is some cooperation with the Board of Supervisors in the county. It'd be something that could be worked on. They should kick some money back to the Charlottesville Area Transit to subsidize the Charlottesville Area Transit, since it is our buses in the city. Two, the Heather Heyer and Susan Bro portraits that I suggested. I picked Kelly Oakes and Anne de la Tour Hopper, who is currently being shown in the Albemarle County Courthouse. And she's frequently shown there. She's a wonderful artist. But I danced on the toes of City Council to do this. I contacted these artists. They were very excited. But it's for the council to really make the decision. However, as I've noted previously and encouraged as well, there is not just the issue of putting this portrait that I picked, or one like it, in the hallway outside the city council chambers. I think this is an important issue that would be commemorating. And I think that, as I noticed on the wall in the federal courthouse today, that art competition is encouraged, even for portraiture to be hung in the nation's capital, the Capitol building, the Capitol Dome, or Capitol rooms of our Capitol building in Washington, D.C. And I think that this particular situation here in Charlottesville about hate and the events on August 12th, 2017 may rise very well to that level of importance. Heather Heyer was like a ransom sacrifice to bring about an end to hate, and if we do our job correctly. Okay, I had another. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandon Collins.
Good evening, Brandon Collins. I'm a Charlottesville resident. I've lived here my entire life. When I was born here in 1973, Vinegar Hill was vacant of anything, and Crescent Halls had yet to be built, as well as most of our other public housing in Charlottesville. Skipping ahead a number of years, our city's connection to urban renewal are directly related to our public housing situation. Public housing in Charlottesville was the only thing that was given in return for urban renewal at Vinegar Hill, Garrett Street, and other places. And now the time has come to enthusiastically embrace this idea that we can have a different future, that the wrongs of the past, as deliberate as they were and as harmful as they were, and the impacts that are still felt today, can be at least channeled towards a different direction And that's a vision that FAR has had, and that's a vision that we've compelled the Housing Authority to accept. And we really need your enthusiasm for approaching this effort. It has been a really fast year after many years of residents slogging it out to try to get redevelopment going, and now the time is now. And we really need enthusiasm and support, and we need your resources. I hope you will support the resolution tonight. A number of promises have been made for funding for Housing Authority over the years, and tonight you will consider actually releasing those funds so that the Housing Authority can get to work spending some money doing what is right. We've pieced together a redevelopment. I know it's been hard to articulate to you all because we're all so busy and we all have very few resources. We need your resources, we need your support, we need your enthusiasm. We need that money. And I really hope you'll support that. Other things that we would like you to be considering is devoting some of your personal resources and attention to this effort, enthusiastically, to changing history, to making a brighter future that's in the hands of residents. That means attending some meetings, get involved. I know some of you have been involved in the Friendship Court redevelopment project. We haven't seen that kind of support from city leadership or city staff at all, and we really need that to happen. We don't just need the money. We don't just need a zoning change. We don't just need an SUP. We need your support. We need your enthusiastic support. Phase 1, the total renovation of Crescent Halls, much overdue, is also going to require money, and we support you putting money into that project. $8 million sounds like will get us phase 1. That includes building on the field at South First Street. I would love to talk to you all more about the vision that is shared with the Housing Authority, with FAR, and with resident participation in establishing the different phases for a future redevelopment. I'd be happy to do so. Thank you.
All right. Star Peterson.
I'm Star Peterson. I'm a Fifeville resident. I demand that the police officers who interacted with Tim Porter this past Friday be held accountable. I demand that Katrina Turner's complaint against Chief Brackney be addressed immediately. Please also fully fund public housing so that people don't have to live with mold and copperheads. I'm also here to ask that you fully back the Community Unity Summer events. I'm thrilled to hear that they're being organized by activists like Katrina Turner, Rosia Parker, Charlene Green, Harold Foley, and other pillars of our community. I ask that you fully fund the Community Unity every summer. Also, while we're talking about changing street names, can we change the name of every street in this town named after frickin' Thomas Jefferson? We seem to keep conveniently forgetting that he was a slave owner and a rapist. So having streets named after him should be something of which we are deeply ashamed. I get that it's a long, messy road to get permission to get rid of those Confederate war monuments. But if it's up to us about changing street names, that sounds like a great place to start. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna Mendez. She left. All right. Dab Jackson. Dab Jackson. All right. Okay, we have some more slots that are available. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Good evening, Mayor Walker.
Good evening.
City Council,
Good evening.
city staff. My name is Sean Harris, and I'm a city resident. I'm here this evening to comment on the proposed resolution to rename Preston Avenue. I came out because there seems to be a trend emerging from the council, and it's one that I believe is untenable. My intent is simply to comment, and I'll take my leave afterward because I really don't want to engage anyone or anybody about what I have to say. My objection to renaming Preston Avenue has nothing to do with the newly proposed namesake. Without question, the contributions of Black educators like Mrs. Ailey Minor Preston were invaluable in helping shape the lives of the students they touched. She championed education and taught in many of our Black schools, including Greenwood, Scottsville, North Garden, Providence, which is out in Rose Hill, and the Albemarle County Training School. Those of us from this community may recall family members talking about attending one of those schools. I certainly do. She and they are worthy of praise, without question. During your December 17th meeting, Councilman Bellamy outlined his impetus for renaming the street. It came to his attention that Preston Avenue was named after Thomas L. Preston, a slave owner and member of the Confederate Army. He also shared that he doesn't enjoy riding up and down Preston Avenue, a street named after somebody who probably would have owned him. This question is rhetorical and doesn't fall within the parameters of your authority, but I wonder how students feel each day walking into and out of Monticello High School, which is named after a plantation. Appropriately enough, there is disdain for Thomas Preston's connection to slavery, yet so much of the South's history, our history, is rooted in slavery. In fact, Mrs. Ailey Preston's father, Mr. Reeves C. Minor, was born a slave, and as such, it stands to reason that he inherited his slave master's surname, which was Minor. This is the reality for many whose lineage is rooted in slavery. I am not sure where the Preston portion of Miss Preston's name comes from, but it's entirely possible her surname has roots in slavery as well. Thank you, Grandma, for pointing that out to me. Indeed, to borrow from Booker T. Washington, many of us Black folks are up from slavery. And as a people, we were able to survive and excel in spite of it. Adopting this resolution will place each of you in the precarious position of having to devise a litmus test for which parts of our history are and are not worthy of rebranding. It has the potential of binding you and us to the past. Your attention will be focused on scouring history, which clearly will uncover one egregious indignity after another. Anyone who's visited an orchard knows when picking fruit, it doesn't take long to discover that the next piece is often more noteworthy than the last. The same would be true picking through our history. After all, Charlottesville, and by extension Albemarle County, is a crown jewel of the Confederacy. Its past, present, and if some have their way, its future. Charlottesville's importance to the Confederacy is supreme. A lesson learned for some of us from angry torchbearers during the summer of 2017. Others of us already knew this. Given the community's response over the past year and a half, it would appear that marching by torchlight around grounds and down the lawn while chanting racist ideology has powerful pedagogical benefits. Those of us born and raised here know of the bitter milk secreted from Charlottesville's bosom. We have long known of the bitterness offered up as sustenance and how it stained the lips of our ancestors who were forced to drink. Instead of renaming, my hope is that you have the courage to stand in the truth of what Charlottesville was, what it is, and what it may become. It seems you are using a telescope. Thank you.
So Nancy, just, yeah.
I'm back. Roy Van Dorn with City Select. As I said, I'm on the board of Downtown Business Association and Virginia Restaurant, Lodging, and Travel Association. I'd like to address what Ms. Hudson had asked the council was, does the Downtown Business Association not like benches? And that is, and we have asked for more benches from the city for 6 years. And we have asked for the benches that are in front of the city hall to be used. But the Architectural Review Board said that was not acceptable for the mall, and they are now sitting in Parks and Recreation's storage unit in limbo. That's the fact. Now, we would like to have more benches, and we've asked for more benches. So that is the truth. To the topic I want to just talk about briefly is, I know you have a lot of things you're considering for the future for taxation. One of the things that are on the table is the TOT tax, or the transient occupancy tax. As two of you, Mr. Signer and Ms. Galvin, serve on the Convention and Visitors Bureau board, you know that the board is severely underfunded compared to our peer cities, and that the only funding mechanism that the CACBB has with the county is the TOT tax. And by raising the tax for general obligations and general fund obligations, that means that none of that money will go to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And by raising the tax, puts the ceiling up pretty high so that future consideration is probably off the table. And so I ask, as you look at the future of different funding sources, that you keep in mind that the investment that visitors make for the perpetuation of one of the largest industries in our community stays as an investment from the visitors to our visitors the next year, and preserve the TOT tax primarily for the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Nancy Carpenter, resident of the city. If the Downtown Business Association feels uncomfortable, they ought to be. I remember 6 years ago, those benches were taken out because we didn't want to see folks that were houseless on our beautiful downtown mall, interrupting rich people having a meal out. It wasn't quite as extensive as it is now. They've grown and everything. So I support what Ms. Hudson said about the benches, and and the gentleman is right. There are some benches in storage, but I think there are those ungodly, orthopedically challenged benches and seats that we have now that were replaced because nobody wanted people to enjoy the wooden seated seats that are few still left on the downtown mall. So hopefully that'll be an issue that y'all can address and maybe make it a little more inclusive as we move forward. But what I'm here tonight to talk about is that one of the things you've got coming up is a housing strategy. And we know that 60% of the people in this city are renters. And with renting, you face, as well as being a homeowner, issues that can affect your ability to pay your rent. Mayor Stoney, in his State of the Union, noted just a couple of weeks ago that Richmond is part of a 2-year pilot program with the state for eviction diversion. The city is partnering with the Central Virginia Legal Aid Justice Center. It's the nonprofit Home Opportunities for Home Made Equal, and they are providing a program where defendants in an eviction proceeding case will have a pro bono lawyer that will assist with mediation, because that's one of the things that I see when I go to court from time to time. There's a mediator there, but we can't use it. Defendant can't use it because there's an attorney representing the plaintiff, which is the landlord, and they cannot engage in negotiations for that. They will also provide financial literacy, because once you get over that hump of having a problem paying your rent, it's often a budgetary issue. I mean, it's an income issue. I mean, we all know that we could do more with our incomes that we pay people for the work that they do. But they also provide so that people can move forward and budget better, and or at least try to get the tools with what they have to try and mitigate any future circumstances. It also is a way of not having an eviction on your record, because it makes it that much harder to get a place to live if you have an eviction on your record. So they're hoping to, in the first year, to help 500 families in Richmond. Of course, Richmond is a larger area. They said that last year they had 40,000 families going through the courts, potentially going through the court system. Not all of them ended up in a eviction. So there are some things that I'd like that maybe the city could do to help mitigate some of the city residents. I'm also going to carry this message to the county that to watch what happens in Richmond with that, because it could be a strategy that I think our city could look at adopting to making sure that people are in affordable homes and they can stay in affordable homes.
Thank you. And we have one more slide. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Mayor Walker,
No.
while Mr. Long is or whomever, can I ask a question to Mr. Murphy? Mr. Murphy, in regards to the benches, I would be interested in, I guess, getting the background, because if I'm hearing it correctly from Mr. Roy, as well as hearing the same thing from Ms. Hudson and Ms. Carpenter, like, it seems like everyone wants more benches on the mall, but BAR is the entity saying that we can't have benches on the mall? Or is it not?
This
quite
goes
that?
back a ways, and so I won't remember every detail. But what I will tell you is there was a lot of complaints about the downtown mall, and it is ballpark of 6 years ago. I know Chief Longo is still here at the time. I was the director of human services. There, yes, ma'am. Ms. Zakos was on council for those watching at home, and there was a meeting that happened at Carver Rec, as I recall. We broke into 4 different groups. One was about kind of the public safety aspect of the downtown mall. One was about physical plant changes, like, you know, how could it look nicer kind of thing. One was the human services group, and I don't know if I'm going to remember off the top of my head. I'm doing what I can, but what the 4th group was. But it could have been something about bringing people downtown or advertising. I don't remember. But I really kind of remember, like Ms. Carpenter, that there was a lot of movement afoot about, we had a lot of people, individuals experiencing homelessness.
they were
There was
sleeping
some
on
notion
the
that maybe those the benches that have the wooden slats and have backs were a little too comfortable for them to be in all day. And the benches that are directly in front of City Hall that have no backs and they are black and rounded were kind of piloted at that time. And when the city brought that to the BAR to extend that pilot and have many more of them downtown, they had been already purchased. The BAR was not interested in the design, and they did not get installed.
But we have the.
I don't know.
We have the.
So
direct
we could
authority.
certainly investigate, you know, where to go from here and discuss additional bench locations. I think it'd be important to involve some citizens and also Parks and Recreation, as they are the folks that maintain the mall. And I feel like I'm making Mr. Long stand for an awful long time, so you can ask me later. Maybe.
So, well, can we do? Well, hold on, Miss Hudson. But the three, like, if there are several benches that have been taken away, and we know now that one of the issues is that more benches are needed, what would be the process? We just need to have a agenda item, or we need to convene a group?
May I throw some things in?
Sure.
It's my understanding, too, that last year we funded having kind of a refresh on the downtown mall to look at the whole cultural landscape plan, in which case benches are part of that. So it seems to me that all of us would be better and more knowledgeable if we had an update on where we are on all that, because it does include design items like benches.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I think we've been talking about this for a while, and we did fund something to do about it, and it is time to get an update. And just to remind everybody too that, you know, Mary Joy Scala was the historic preservation planner, and she left, and we've got a new preservation planner, Jeff Warner. So, you know, there's like a passing of the baton. Sometimes you just need a little bit of time to get acclimated, and this would be a good thing to ask Mr. Warner if he could
Potentially,
brief
maybe
us.
like in March, if we can get an update? Because I'm assuming the next council meeting is probably too quick, but
Right.
if maybe the first meeting in March or
Bring
at
it up
least-
with the BAR.
Yeah, bring it up with the BAR.
And there was a backless and a backed model
Right.
of benches being considered, as I recall.
Right. Okay.
Got it.
Thank you. Mr. Long?
My name is Paul Long, and I live at 100 Ridge Street here in the city, and I'm going to make this very brief. I've been fascinated the last 4 days about the press coverage of Governor Northam and the pictures that was in his medical school yearbook. And he must have been in his late 20s when he graduated with a Doctor of Medicine degree. And what I read in the papers was that the students approved and submitted the pictures that were put in that yearbook. And also, he had over 30 years to correct that. You know, if he didn't submit those pictures and he didn't do it, I think they were racist. I think it shows of what he was believed in at the time in the mid-'80s. He's unfit to be governor. He's disgracing the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I'm asking the board to pass a resolution asking the governor to resign his post. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right. Any comment? No.
I will just, with regards to Mr. Long's comment, if I may, Madam Mayor, all I can do is speak about the Democratic Party Committee in the city of Charlottesville. And Sunday, the Democratic Party Committee unanimously voted on a resolution demanding that Governor Northam resign. So I just wanted to give that information to everyone. That's not related to this council board, but I just want to let you know that the Democratic Party Committee in the city of Charlottesville has done that.
I think the city council should do it as well.
And so I think it's important, and I haven't publicly made a statement yet, because it always baffles me that individuals are surprised when items like this come to surface. So I'm neither surprised or invest a lot of time in it because it is typical. It's not out of the ordinary. It has been a part of history at every level, in every decade, in almost every year. And so I think that's the part for me that I struggle with the most, the fact that people will see it when it's a yearbook photo, but they don't see it in the everyday policies that are made, the people who are behind those policies, and how discriminatory and racial those policies are. So I received several calls, but I'm never surprised about this. It keeps showing up. We are in a culture, if you're following even city council meeting, where there is constantly this battle for people who are affected by the systems that have been created by white people come to talk about them, and then you have white people come and advocate for themselves and for the continuation of things as normal as they are currently working for them. And so that, for me, is the bigger issue. Not that some photos were unearthed, but the fact that we keep missing the day-to-day policies that fuel that behavior, that you all sit amongst people and you have conversations the same way I'm sure Northam did, and because no one is in the room outside of your peer group, that you continue those conversations. But your day-to-day actions show in the policies that you can implement and how they affect our lives. So again, yes, the photos are out there. Am I surprised? I'm not surprised. I'm more interested in, as a locality, what we're doing day-to-day to challenge some of these systems of oppression. And from my time here so far in this chair, we're not doing a very good job. All right. So we'll have break until 8:10?
8:05?
8:10.